There we go.
I'm in a very uncomfortable position right now of having been late and then having before my film advocated something that I would never dare advocate. An impact fee and a tax on something that you should, every single possible argument would place in front of you, ban and commit to a moratorium. I mean, you want to have an impact fee for those who are affected now, perhaps, but this makes absolutely no sense unless you pass a moratorium or pass a ban. Pennsylvania's being destroyed. Pennsylvania's in the process of being destroyed. Right now. It's unfolding at an incredibly rapid rate every day. We have water contamination, air pollution, health crisis, a civil rights crisis going on in every county where this drilling is taking place. From the west of Pennsylvania to central to northeast. And why this timing of tonight is so particularly important, because in your watershed in Philadelphia, and I'm not sure if you get your water here from the Delaware River, you don't, but Philadelphia does. And that comes from the Delaware River Basin, upstream, where I live, where you see in the film. How many people have already seen the film? All right, so good. You're going to see a document that starts in 2008 or 2009. We've come a long way since then, but this is your introduction to this topic. I think you're in for a bit of a shock in terms of what you're going to see and what's being proposed for the watershed for the city of Philadelphia and for so many other places. The situation's not gotten better, it's gotten worse, way worse. And one of the ways that it's gotten worse is that, the film was created during the Rendell administration, and the Rendell administration wasn't doing very well on this, but they started to wise up towards the end. And they started to say, well, if you're a gas company, you destroy somebody's water, you have to create a pipeline, a water pipeline for those people who you contaminate. They're trying to set a precedent in Dimmick, in the first temple visit in the movie. That effort was dismantled, and it's not so clear how it was dismantled, but it was dismantled by the gas companies, it was dismantled by Department of Environmental Protection Secretary John Hanger, and it hasn't made a comeback. But I interpreted the Pennsylvania Constitution, Article 1, Section 27, which was read several times during this morning's and this afternoon's proceedings and rallies. We had thousands of people turn out in the streets of Philadelphia today. It was amazing. To mean that no one should destroy your water and air aesthetic value in perpetuity for future generations. It's a beautiful clause. It was adopted around the same time in the 70s as the Safe Drinking Water Act, Clean Water Act, Clean Air Act, Superfund Act. All the major environmental pillars of environmental law in America were passed at that time. And the gas companies have been exempted from every one of them at a federal level by the Bush-Cheney government. And the Obama government has not campaigned to get those reversed. There has been, and that's significant, because what we're talking about here is the Delaware River Basin Commission, which is comprised of the four governors of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, and Delaware, and a representative of the federal government, the Obama administration, represented by the Army Corps of Engineers, will decide on October 21st whether or not to frack the Delaware River Basin. And the last I heard, their regulations permitted 22,000 gas wells in the river basin. That's, for some of you at least, your watershed. New York City found a way to protect its watershed. Syracuse could protect its watershed. Philadelphia, under Corbett, could not do it, even though the Philadelphia City Council has proposed a moratorium and a ban on fracking in the river basin. But what's happening right now is a travesty. You've got a governor that was elected with $1 million of campaign contributions from the gas industry. You've got a state assembly and a state senate that has rife with that kind of corruption. And the compromise position, which I don't endorse, is, frankly, to tax them and to give you to assume that there's going to be damage and then pay you ahead of time for it. It's kind of like saying, well, I'm going to hit your car in the parking lot, and I'll pay you $300, no matter what kind of car you have. You may hear some of it in Gasland 2 or in another incarnation, probably. And I asked them, basically what they said was, they got 69,000 public comments to the Delaware River Basin Commission. Well, not all of them were in opposition, but the majority of them were in opposition to their plan to frack the Delaware River Basin. 69,000 public comments. Now, they've claimed that they've gone through most of these, and that October 21st, they're going to have a meeting in West Trenton, and at that meeting, they're going to make some kind of announcement. I was trying to figure out what kind of announcement they were going to make. Were they going to vote on these regulations? Were they going to release the regulations to the public so that we can actually take in what was about to happen? What's going to happen? It's going to be a three-ring circuit. You're going to have thousands of people showing up there. Nobody knows what's going to happen. And that's not adequate. So they proceeded to say on the phone for half an hour, well, we can't tell you what's going on because the commissioners are still reviewing the proposals. And I said, well, if the commissioners are reviewing the proposals, why did you set a date? Oh, well, we think we'll be done by then. Well, what are you doing? Who's involved in the process of determining the fate of where I live? Well, the commissioners are with the Delaware River Basin Commission. Okay, so is this a process of figuring out, a set of regulations that the commissioners can say yes to? And he said, well, nobody knows how the commissioners are going to vote. It's like weirdly kind of Alice in Wonderland or George Orwell situation. We can't tell you what we're going to do. All we can tell you is that we're going to do something, but we can't give you any information about what we're going to do. And I said to him, well, there were 69,000 public comments. Doesn't that mean that the process itself is a problem? They were like, well, that's exactly what we're doing. We're very transparent. We posted all 69,000 public comments. I said, well, you're not telling us how those public comments affected the document that you're going to come up with on the same night you're going to vote on it. Right? It's kind of like having a referendum without anybody knowing what it's about until you walk into the voting booth. And I said, well, when are the commissioners going to know? And he said, well, I don't know. I can't tell you. I'm just spoken to. So this goes around and around. I said, all right, well, you've got a week. I give you a week. You tell me what you're going to do in a week, or you're going to force the opposition to take action. Basically. So, after you watch the movie, take a look at what's happening there. Sign up. Is there a sign-up sheet? Good. And we'll let you know what's happening on October 21st. I know what we're going to say. I know what we're going to